Explosions tore through the heart of Crimea overnight, shattering the calm of Russia's prized peninsula. In just 24 hours, Ukraine launched a coordinated, relentless attack that has left Russia's Black Sea stronghold in chaos. Massive fireballs lit up the night sky from Sevastopol to Dzhankoy as Ukrainian drones and missiles pounded Russian ammunition depots, air defense systems, and naval facilities. Sirens wailed across the peninsula. Thousands of residents fled their homes, and for the first time, Russian media couldn't hide the panic. Crimea, the so-called crown jewel of Putin's empire, is breaking apart under the pressure. Russian people are starting to say what was once unthinkable: we can't take this anymore. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe and like my videos. Reports began flooding in late last night at approximately 11:45 p.m. A wave of over 70 Ukrainian drones appeared on radar, swarming toward key Russian military zones across Crimea. Moments later, explosions echoed across the peninsula. Videos uploaded to social media showed fiery debris raining from the sky, massive plumes of smoke billowing from what used to be ammunition storage sites, and terrified residents recording the chaos from their balconies. The most powerful strike hit near Sevastopol, the headquarters of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. Flames engulfed the naval repair docks, destroying vessels and equipment critical to Russia's ongoing war effort. Satellite imagery confirmed the scale of destruction: warehouses flattened, air defense batteries silenced, and fuel reserves burning out of control. This wasn't just another drone raid. Ukrainian military officials described it as a 24-hour shock operation, a coordinated assault designed to stretch Russian defenses to the limit. From the early morning until the next night, the attacks came in waves. First the drones, then the cruise missiles, followed by electronic warfare to jam Russian communications. It was precision chaos, one that proved how deeply Ukraine had studied Russia's vulnerabilities. For months, Kiev had been preparing for this moment. Intelligence sources suggest that Ukraine used advanced reconnaissance drones and Western satellite data to map every critical military installation in Crimea. And when the time came, they struck all at once. Russian air defense units were overwhelmed, some even firing on their own aircraft in confusion. According to reports from within Crimea, entire neighborhoods near military bases lost power as transformer stations were hit. Internet connections went dark. Hospitals were flooded with casualties. Russian telegram channels described the night as hellish, and local officials desperately urged calm, but it was clear control was slipping away. The symbolism of this assault cannot be overstated. Crimea has been the pride of Russia since its illegal annexation in 2014. Putin used it as proof that he could restore Russia's greatness, but now that same territory has become a burning reminder of how vulnerable Moscow truly is. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had vowed that Crimea would be liberated, and this attack appears to be a major step toward that promise. But let's go deeper. Why did Ukraine choose this moment to strike? Analysts believe it's about timing and momentum. As winter approaches, both sides are trying to reshape the battlefield. Russia has been ramping up missile strikes on Ukrainian infrastructure, trying to freeze cities into submission. Ukraine, in turn, needed a dramatic counter-punch, something to prove that despite the fatigue of a long war, it still holds the initiative. Hitting Crimea is not just about territory, it's psychological warfare. It tells the Kremlin you can't protect what you stole, and it's working. The shockwaves from these attacks aren't only physical, they're political. Across Russian media, cracks are beginning to appear. Prominent military bloggers, once staunchly loyal to the Kremlin, are now openly criticizing defense officials for failing to protect Crimea. One popular commentator wrote, "Our defenses are a joke. How can we lose control of the skies over Crimea?" Another warned that morale among troops is collapsing, with soldiers refusing to return to frontline positions near Sevastopol. For the average Russian citizen watching this unfold, the myth of invincibility is shattering. Inside Russia, anger is growing. Long lines have formed at gas stations in Crimea as residents panic over shortages. Local authorities have begun quietly evacuating certain families from military towns. Meanwhile, Russian tourists, who once filled Crimea's beaches, are rushing to leave, clogging the Kerch Bridge with endless traffic. Videos show cars lined up for kilometers, some people abandoning their vehicles to cross on foot. It's a scene of desperation, one that mirrors the crumbling confidence of a nation. And then came the unthinkable. Ukrainian drones struck near the Kerch Bridge itself, the massive structure linking Crimea to mainland Russia. Built at a cost of billions, it was supposed to be the symbol of eternal Russian control, but in this latest attack, explosions near its security checkpoints triggered panic and temporary closure. For several hours, Russia suspended civilian traffic, fearing another strike could collapse key sections of the bridge. Kremlin officials called it a precaution, but everyone knew what it meant. Even Russia's most heavily guarded infrastructure is no longer safe. Behind the scenes, Western intelligence agencies have quietly praised Ukraine's strategic shift. According to sources cited by the British Defense Ministry, this operation demonstrates advanced long-range strike coordination capabilities. In simple terms, Ukraine can now reach any point in Crimea, and perhaps even deeper into Russia. This changes everything. It challenges Moscow's narrative that Crimea is untouchable. It also puts pressure on Russian military logistics, since the peninsula serves as the main supply hub for southern operations. Let's not forget, Crimea isn't just symbolic, it's strategic. It houses Russia's airfields, radar systems, and missile launchers that support the war effort across southern Ukraine. Destroying those assets weakens Russia's ability to maintain air superiority and control the Black Sea. Already, reports suggest that several Russian warships have been relocated further east away from Ukrainian strike range. That's not just a retreat, it's a signal that the once powerful Black Sea Fleet is now on the defensive. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces are using this momentum to push forward along the front lines in Zaporizhia and Kherson. As Crimea burns, Russia is being forced to divert troops and air defenses south, stretching its already exhausted resources. Ukrainian commanders hope this will open new windows for counteroffensives in other regions. Some military experts even speculate that Kyiv's ultimate goal is to isolate Crimea completely, to cut off supply lines and make it unsustainable for Russian occupation. But let's turn to the human side of this story, because beyond strategy and explosions lies a harsh reality. For Crimean residents, many of whom have lived under Russian control for a decade, fear is spreading fast. Entire communities are living in darkness, with power outages lasting days. Fuel prices have doubled overnight. Hospitals are struggling to treat burn victims and blast injuries. Local authorities have imposed information blackouts, forbidding journalists from filming the aftermath of the strikes. But the truth is leaking out through citizen videos showing military trucks, collapsed buildings, and desperate families fleeing with whatever they can carry. For Russia's government, the optics are devastating. Putin built his image on stability and control, but the sight of smoke rising over Crimea, the jewel he once showcased to the world, is an image he cannot easily erase. Western officials say this attack has rattled the Kremlin more than any in recent months. Some insiders even claim that emergency meetings were held in Moscow to reassess the future of Russia's naval presence in the Black Sea. The fear is not just about damage, it's about perception. If Crimea is no longer safe, what does that say about the rest of Russia's security? And here's where the story deepens further. There are signs that the Russian population's patience is wearing thin. On social media, videos of Crimean residents shouting at local officials have gone viral. "You told us everything was under control," one woman screamed. "Now our homes are shaking every night." Another man shouted, "Send our sons home, we don't want this war anymore." These voices were once silenced. Now they're echoing across Russia's internet landscape, despite censorship attempts. The message is clear, the propaganda wall is cracking. As the Kremlin scrambles to restore order, Ukraine continues to exploit every weakness. Ukrainian intelligence sources say that several sabotage groups inside Crimea played a key role in the success of the operation, providing coordinates, guiding drones, and disrupting communication networks. If true, this means the resistance inside Crimea is growing. ordinary people, tired of living under occupation, are beginning to fight back in their own ways. That internal resistance could prove more dangerous to Moscow than any missile strike. International reaction has been swift. NATO officials praised Ukraine's courageous and effective operations while emphasizing that Crimea is internationally recognized as Ukrainian territory. Western analysts are now calling this the Crimean turning point, a moment that could redefine the war's trajectory. Russia's military, once seen as a juggernaut, is being humiliated on what it considered home soil. The psychological impact of that cannot be measured in damage reports alone, and yet the danger of escalation is very real. In retaliation, Russia has unleashed a new wave of missile attacks on Ukrainian cities, targeting energy grids and civilian infrastructure. But experts warn that these strikes, while destructive, are increasingly desperate. Each missile costs millions, and Russia's supply is dwindling. Ukraine, meanwhile, is growing stronger, more precise, and more united. With Western support, its drone production has surged, allowing Kiev to sustain long-range pressure for months. Let's zoom out for a moment. This war, now deep into its third year, is evolving beyond traditional battlefields. Drones, electronic warfare, and intelligence networks have become as important as tanks or artillery. What happened in Crimea isn't just a military success, it's a technological statement. It shows that modern warfare favors agility, innovation, and courage over brute force. Ukraine is proving that even a smaller nation, when smartly equipped and strategically driven, can challenge a superpower. As night falls again over Crimea, the fires still smolder. Russian officials insist they're rebuilding, that defenses are being strengthened. But every blast, every column of smoke tells a different story. It tells of a Russia stretched thin, demoralized, and losing control. For the people on the ground, those who once believed they were safe under the Russian flag, the illusion is over. Many now whisper that perhaps it would be better if this war just ended, even if it means Russia stepping back. That sentiment, spreading quietly across the peninsula, may become Putin's worst nightmare. The next few weeks will be critical. Intelligence reports suggest Ukraine may be preparing another round of precision strikes, possibly targeting deeper command centers or even naval facilities hidden underground. If Crimea continues to fall apart, Russia's ability to sustain its war in the south could collapse entirely, and with that, the balance of power could shift dramatically in Ukraine's favor. But beyond the tactical and political implications lies something deeper, a sense of justice. For Ukrainians who have endured years of occupation and war, seeing the sky over Crimea light up is more than just military progress, it's emotional vindication. It's proof that persistence, resilience, and unity can chip away even the hardest walls of aggression. Every explosion in Crimea is, in their eyes, one step closer to freedom. Still, no one can deny the human cost. Each drone that hits a military site risks nearby civilian lives. Each retaliatory missile from Russia tears through Ukrainian towns. The war's pain is immense on both sides, but as history shows, moments like these often define the future for generations. Crimea is now more than a battleground. It's a symbol of defiance, of a smaller nation refusing to surrender. As dawn breaks after the longest 24 hours Crimea has seen since 2014, the smoke has not cleared, and neither has the tension. Russia's propaganda calls it a temporary setback, but the world sees it differently. Ukraine's 24-hour assault didn't just break through defenses, it broke the illusion of Russian control. The cracks are widening, the morale is crumbling, and the once proud narrative of Crimea forever Russian is now buried under rubble and ash. For the Russian people, the question now lingers painfully in the air. If even Crimea isn't safe, what's next? For Ukraine, the answer is clear. They're not stopping until their land, all of it, is free again. And as the world watches this high-stakes battle unfold, one truth becomes undeniable. The tide of history is shifting, and Crimea, the land once stolen, is now the spark that could change the entire war.